If I'm making too many of these, please let me know in the comment section down below. But if you guys want to see more, leave a like on this video. But today we are watching A Stranger Keeps Visiting Me at Night. Oh man, it's not Scary Saturday, but we're watching this. I really hope this isn't like a scary one, you know? It's a true story animation, so we're about to find out what happens. I'm leaving a like on this because you guys already know by now, animations take a lot of work. So let's get started.
When I was young, I used to dream about a man I could swear I'd never met. I made drawings of his face, but they never matched my dreams. As I grew up, I started to get used to him. He kept appearing in my dreams from time to time, but I stopped paying attention to it.
Are you sure that's a dream? if you're seeing it that often, I don't know if it's a dream anymore.
Until a couple of months ago when everything changed. I had moved back with my parents to the town I was born in, and after a while, he started visiting my dreams again, all the time. I would never get rid of this stalker. He was inside my head. When I talked to my mom about it, she told me not to pay attention to it. If he was only in my dreams, then he wouldn't harm me. The other day, I was coming out of school, and I felt that someone was staring at me.
Yep, it's not a dream, guys. It's probably in her room every single night, guys. I don't know. It says a stranger keeps visiting me at night, so it can't be a dream. By the way, guys, this is by My Story Animated. I will have the links in the description down below.
I looked instinctively and saw him on the other side of the parking lot.
See?
I got goosebumps. I turned around to tell my friend, but when I looked again, he was gone. Was I going crazy? We went to the mall, and I saw him behind every column and inside every shop.
This is not a scary
but when I looked
animation.
Closely, he disappeared. My friend got really worried about me too. She couldn't see him. I was definitely going crazy. That night, the real nightmare began. I went to bed knowing that I would dream about him, but I wasn't ready for what was actually waiting for me. I was in an open square, and I was completely alone. I looked around and saw him approaching.
Oh my gosh.
But when I tried to move, nothing happened. This was new. I was stuck in my place, frozen like a statue, as he started to...
I know what it is. It's sleep paralysis. I don't know why like she keeps getting it so often though. If it is actually sleep paralysis...
towards me. I could feel it tickling in my arms and my legs as I tried to turn around and get the hell out of there. But I couldn't move a muscle. I don't know why. I was paralyzed.
That is so scary,
the man
guys.
got closer and closer, and I could feel my heart racing. He didn't look mad or dangerous, but he didn't look kind either. His face had no expression.
Ew.
As he got really close, he stretched his arm to touch me. I tried to scream, but my voice was gone too. A second before he touched me, I got up screaming and sweating. My parents ran into my room and hugged me.
It was sleep paralysis.
Are you all right? My mom asked. I couldn't move, was all I could say. The next day, my dad drove me to school. I struggled to get out of the car.
I mean, I thought she would
go to
the
looking
doctor
around
or something,
everywhere,
not the school.
Terrified that I might see the monster in my dreams.
She should have just
my dad
asked her
saw my
parents
tears
to
coming down and sighed.
take her to the
we went back home. My mom asked what happened as she saw us, and Dad said that this was not okay, that something was very wrong.
Exactly.
I was already drenched in sweat, and I hadn't seen the man once yet that day.
Gosh.
We went to the doctor. I knew what kind of doctor it was. A shrink, the one for the crazy people.
No.
But I didn't mind. I was ready to accept I was crazy as long as he freed me from my nightmare. I wasn't as concerned about the man as I was of the fact that I couldn't move. I was used to seeing the man, but this was new and it scared me.
How scared would you guys be like if you're sleeping, right? And then all of a sudden you feel like this like demonic aura or something like that, and then you open your eyes, you see a demon. Okay, I'm not trying to scare you guys, but I'm just saying, you know, what if there was like a demon at the edge of your feet and you can't move and you're just like stuck there and you just have to accept it. That's basically what sleep paralysis is, and it's terrible. Like, I've never had it before, but I've heard so many stories about it.
After he heard the story, he simply shot me with the news. Sleep paralysis. What? But he told me not to worry. It had a solution. That was good news. He said that the main treatment was to improve sleeping habits, like going to bed at the same time every night, ensuring a comfortable sleep environment, and avoiding caffeine before sleeping. But I was too scared to sleep. As night came, I was truly tired. I followed the advice of the doctor, and Mom said she would stay with me that night. It didn't take long for me to fall asleep, but just as fast, I was in a nightmare again. This time it was an empty room. No windows, no doors. The
No,
man
what
and
does this
I were
man want
alone in
from
there.
her?
And again, I was paralyzed. What would my muscles serve inside a sealed room anyway? But the sole feeling of not being able to move was frustrating.
Yo, this is actually
I felt my heart
freaking me out,
racing
not gonna
again
lie.
as the
Even
man
this,
started
even
to
if
walk
this is an
towards me.
animation.
Mom said she was going to stay with me, but where was she? I looked around.
Oh
I was
gosh.
alone. Scared to death, I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I couldn't even open my mouth. He was getting closer
that's
and
sleep
closer.
paralysis. You can't
the
say
face
anything,
was
you
always
can't
the
move
same,
nothing.
but it felt
Oh
more and
my
more terrifying.
goodness.
He moved his arms to grab me, and
Oh
I
my
woke
God.
up with a huge scream.
Again,
My mom
again.
hugged me and told me it was okay, but it was not okay. I was horrified. So we went to the doctor
Like,
again.
even
I
if you
asked
know
him why this was happening
it's
to
not
me,
real, like,
and
it's
after a
still
few
pretty
sessions
scary,
without
I bet.
answers, he said that sometimes sleep paralysis is a result of a childhood unresolved trauma. But I didn't remember anything bad while growing up. He explained that it was surely something from my
What could
very
it
first
be?
years. Sometimes traumatic memories go directly to our unconscious. We don't remember them, but they show themselves later on in life, in different experiences
I
that
wonder
provoke
what I
similar
have, 'cause
feelings. So what
I
he
don't
was
wanna
saying was
like,
that
experience
somehow
something
after
like
I
this
was
later in
born,
life.
I went through a frightening experience,
scared of
and my
spiders,
brain
though,
was
but
now
I'm
trying
sure
to get it
everyone's
out.
scared of spiders.
Since, of course, I had no memory of those days, I asked my parents about it, but they said that they didn't remember anything. I went to bed praying to every god out there to please, for once, let me sleep without
Dang,
these
I feel
nightmares.
so bad for
I wish
her,
I could
man.
say that
Like,
my prayers were
imagine
heard,
not
but
being
they
able to
weren't.
sleep every
In
single
this dream,
night.
the setting was worst of all, my own room. It was the only place that this
gosh.
anonymous man never touched. And now I wasn't even safe in here.
now he's
Lying down
here.
in my bed, I tried to move with no luck. The man was standing in the corner, staring at me
I've
without
never heard of
moving.
anyone have
For a
sleep
moment, it
paralysis
was like a
every
picture,
single
and then
night.
it turned into a movie. A sick, terrifying one. He started to walk towards me in slow
Goodness.
motion. Inside me,
no.
I was screaming and shaking and kicking. On the outside, I was as still as a statue.
Like, you
Please
can think
don't
and
hurt
everything,
me.
but
Please,
you can't move
please.
out of your shell.
But it was only a thought. The words couldn't come out. He got closer and
gosh.
closer, and I suddenly
Wake up,
stopped trying to
scream.
move and shout. I simply closed my eyes, waiting for the
She
worst.
just accepted it.
I was too tired after 3 nights in a row with no rest. I
3
gave
nights
in,
of sleep
and this
paralysis,
time
guys.
he touched my shoulder.
Oh
But
my
as
God.
nothing else happened, I opened my eyes. He just stood there, with his hand on my arm. I've never seen him as closely as that. My fear towards him never
The fact
let
that
me,
she can
and
feel
for the
him.
first time in my life, I could pay attention to the details on his face. I knew this man. I didn't have any memory
was
of
it?
him, but I was sure I knew him. It was suddenly annoying not being able to place him.
Yeah, but
He
it was
extended his
definitely
other
like a
arm very
traumatizing
slowly
experience
and
when
grabbed
she was
my
a
other
kid.
arm. And
Who is
before I
this
could do
person?
anything, he shouted, "Wake up!" I sat on my
What?
bed screaming. My mom entered the room and hugged me again. I freed from her embrace, still
I
feeling
feel
the
so
man's arms
uneasy
touching me.
watching this.
I stood up and went to my closet. I grabbed a box where I had my old drawings. I sat behind my desk and started to add details to the drawings. His face was
Who
still
could this
fresh in my
person
memory,
be?
and I needed something from the real world to hold on to. As Mom got closer to me, the most bizarre thing happened. She took the drawing out of my
She knows
hand
who
and
it is.
stared at it,
She knows
with
who it
tears
is.
in her eyes. "You know this man?" I asked her, shocked, but she was paralyzed, shaking. How did we switch places so fast? "Mom!"
Who could it
I
be?
shouted, but she was speechless, shocked. I yelled for help,
Uh-oh.
and my dad ran inside the room. We put her on the bed, and she
Oh
breathed
no,
heavily,
what the heck happened to
tears
her
still
now?
falling on her cheeks.
Wait, who could this
She looked
person
at my
be?
dad and said she was sorry, that she could not hide the secret any longer.
What?
What? What secret? My
Wait, before they reveal it, I have a feeling I know what it is. Her mom was cheating on her dad. And she knew who it was because as a kid, you know, you look around, you keep stuff in your memory. Let's see what's about to
dad
happen.
stood silent. And so, Mom said, "I think the man in this drawing is your real dad." What the hell?
What?
She said she was sorry, that she held the secret to keep me safe. But now I was suffering
Oh, it was
anyway,
probably
and
like
she
an
couldn't take
abusive
it
father or
anymore.
something.
"Your real father left us one day without giving explanations," Mom said. "And I met
So
your
that's
dad,
her
Bernard, shortly
stepdad.
after. I was desperate. You were 2 months old.
And he was a nice
took
guy,
care of us
man.
ever since. "Oh, Dad," I said and hugged him. He apologized, and so did Mom.
That's her real
How could
dad,
I not
man.
forgive them when they'd been nothing but loving parents?
Exactly.
Still, I knew that the truth was not enough. I would have to confront him. I was not that little baby anymore, and I needed answers.
Her real dad was
I asked
probably
my
like
parents
super
if they knew
abusive
something
or
about
something.
him, if he was still alive. Mom said she heard he was living in a close town, but knew nothing more. I Googled him, and he appeared immediately.
Naruto.
So many different
Wait,
pictures of him
Naruto.
that my blood ran cold. It was definitely the man in my drawings. And apparently, he had no intention of keeping a low profile. He was a criminal. He'd abandoned his family for no reason, and the pictures showed he was living his life freely, just like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a new family. It was such a cliche. I found his address quickly, too.
I can definitely
the close
see
town
like
Mom
that
said
she's
was in
angry.
fact the next town, just minutes away from home. I was
Like,
determined
if my
I
parents
was
just
going to
abandoned me
face
like
him the
that, I'd be
next day.
so angry,
Mom
guys,
couldn't
like-
convince me otherwise, so Dad said he
how did
wouldn't
you
let me go
remember that
alone.
face at 2
I didn't
months
sleep
old?
much that night, thinking about the man. What would I say to him? Would he recognize me? The answers floated in the air as I fell asleep. I couldn't believe my eyes when it was the sun through the
Yeah, at
window
least,
that
you know,
woke
they
me
got
up,
to the
and not
bottom
a
of it.
horrifying nightmare. I guess half of the
nice.
truth
Now
was enough
now
to
she
get
can
me through
actually
the
sleep.
night. But I knew that if I didn't find the
now
other
her
half,
mom is
the nightmares would
traumatized.
stalk me again.
She's like,
I could
"That
see in my
man."
dad's expression he was still not convinced about this, but he respected my wishes and drove
we
me
go.
to his house. We parked in front of his house, and I couldn't
Hopefully
believe
her
how
dad
close
goes
to
with
home he
her,
lived.
or her stepdad
I must
goes with
have
her,
passed
because
through that
he
street
could
a
be
million
dangerous.
times in
Who
my
knows?
life. I stayed inside the car for a long time before I could find the will to move.
All
Dad
right.
told me he had my back,
She
but I
wasn't
asked
ready.
him to wait in the
She was
car.
not ready.
I got out and walked towards the house in panic.
Is he not going
I
with
didn't
her?
want to, but I knew there was no other
Uh-oh.
way. I knocked on the door and waited for what seemed like
go.
hours. Finally, he opened the door. I was paralyzed again. I couldn't
Gosh.
speak.
Oh.
Yes,
Is
he
he?
asked, with that same
seems nice.
expressionless face he had in my dreams.
He looks just
didn't
like her.
recognize
Blonde hair,
me,
green
but
eyes.
then again, how would he? I started to cry, and with the only thread of air I
probably
had
like,
left,
"What the-
I whispered,
Why is this girl
"Dad?"
crying?
He opened his eyes in shock, and his face turned to stone. Get off my property.
Oh.
I couldn't speak. I couldn't move.
What?
It was my nightmare all over
What kind of father does that? Like, when your biological daughter comes back after you left her to like talk to you
again. I was paralyzed. Get out, he insisted. I swallowed my questions and my
Wow.
pride and nodded, completely
he
heartbroken.
never deserves
I turned
to
around
have
but
a family
couldn't even
like
take
them
2
again.
steps
Yep.
before I fell down.
Oh.
My dad got out of the car and ran
Man,
towards
if
me.
I was a stepdad,
He cried in his arms
Bah!
on the other side of the door
Get outta
for a
here.
long moment
I'm the
and
real
then
dad
stood
now.
up. Mom had been right to keep me safe from this man.
Exactly.
We started to
Some
walk towards
abusive
the
dude,
car
man.
when I heard the door
Ungrateful.
opening. I
Nah.
looked at him and his face was transformed. I believe I do owe you an explanation,
No, you don't.
he said, and
No, you
invited us
don't.
in. And then he
Heck
said
nah.
he was sick, that he'd been sick for years.
Uh-uh.
Who the
Why-
hell stays away
why
from
were
his
you
loved
mean?
ones in a moment like that? He said that his first thought was that he would die quickly, so he decided to keep it to himself. The doctor said no more than 6 months, so
Nah,
he
this
went
man's
away
lying.
so we
I
wouldn't
refuse
suffer.
to believe him.
Months passed and then more months, but he didn't die. Fear
What?
turned to
He wanted
despair
to die?
and then to frustration. And then it was too late. I started to grow up, and Mom met Bernard, and she was on her feet again.
You know,
when
he
he
could've
found out
just
that I thought
stayed.
Bernard was my father, he felt like there was no place for him in my life. It wasn't fair to ruin the good life Mom and I had.
I mean, it was kind
and
of
he
his
gave
fault
up.
for leaving in the
He
first
also admitted
place.
that he did follow me around for a while until I was
Okay,
5 or
that's
6 years
creepy.
old. I was
That's
not
why
that
she
crazy.
knew.
But then he stopped
why
that
she's
too,
seen him
thinking
before.
that perhaps it would be frightening for me. He had no idea.
My
It made me
goodness.
sad to think about this man now. Because he was going to die, he'd lived a life of death. No feelings, no relationships, no love.
Man,
he
now
had
they're
no
making me
one.
feel bad
I
for this
realized
guy
that no
after-
matter how much I'd suffered,
Oh my
my pain was nothing compared to his. I
Roller
hugged him.
coaster of
What else
emotions,
could I
man.
do? He
I
didn't
wonder how
deserve
the
to spend his
stepdad
last
feels
days
now.
alone. He finally passed away a few months later. I tried to spend as much time as possible
What?
with him during that
So
time.
he was still going to
and
die?
although he
Oh my
couldn't make up for the
gosh.
lost years, he did have the chance to feel a bit of love before he went away. I had
No,
all sorts
no,
of
don't
mixed up
do this to
feelings
me.
after that. I regretted his life decisions, and I know now he did too. It was as if karma wouldn't let him die until he made up for his mistakes.
Should've
But
just
I'm
stayed,
also glad
man.
that he
He
didn't
should've
go
just
alone.
stayed.
That's the most important lesson I've learned from him. Don't let bad decisions ruin your life. There's always time for forgiveness.
Exactly. You just have to do it, you know? Like, he was just too scared to, you know, confront his wife and his daughter when he should have. You know, he should have just took the leap of faith, and he should have been he would have been good. Like, who cares if he's gonna I mean, you know, he's gonna die, but like, he shouldn't just leave without saying anything, you know? Dang, man, this true story really put me through an emotional roller coaster. I'm not gonna lie, guys, but hey, like I said, if I'm making too many of these videos, tell me in the comments. But hey, if you guys want to see more, don't forget to leave a like on this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.